all swaying in the breeze. But one so light, anxious, wide awake, fearing all manner of ghouls, hags, and wraiths. For your dolly Polly sleep has flown, don't dare let her tremble alone. For the witcher, heartless cold, paid in coin of gold. He comes, he'll go, leave naught behind but heartache and woe. Deep, deep woe.
Hello everybody
Hello.
and welcome to Gifts and Gadgets. I was really tempted to say the Loonies.
I knew you were going to say that.
It's really not good. So tonight we have a lovely special guest who is one of our very own.
I am.
And is into demons.
Only a little bit.
Wait, just like that. Just like that.
Yeah, it's a tiny bit.
So hello everyone in the chat. I can see we've already got a couple of people.
Yeah, I've got my good friend Danny Southam there, my historian for Are You Brave Enough?
All right, Danny.
Evening.
Hello, Jane.
Hi, Jane.
Hi, lovely Jane. But yeah, I don't know why. I really wanted to shout, "It's the Loonies."
Not tonight. Wrong show, wrong day.
Yeah, I know. I think it's because that's the main show that I do. And obviously we only do this like once a month.
Mm.
So my head just gets baffled.
So Ness has
not
been trying to
difficult.
drag me on there. And she's been trying to drag me on there YouTube for ages.
Yeah, of course.
So we've got someone saying hello to Damon as well. And Kay
hi.
says hi as well.
Yeah, Craig and Kay, brilliant. They're both Kabbalistic mediums. I've had Kay on the show twice, and she's amazing what she does. Personal readings, she does it all like sort of Kabbalistic wise, and she does this thing once a week. If you ever want to check it out, where she gives like thanks to Lord Ganesha, and he plays all that medium mystical music, and that it's really cool. It's really good, especially if you're feeling like a bit down or a bit worried. It's nice to do something like that.
Okay, brilliant.
Sounds
So,
good.
do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, Danny? No, not Danny. That's the wrong show.
Close enough. Close enough.
At least I ain't calling you Damien tonight.
Everyone does. Fine.
Wrong show. Sorry, different night.
Where do I start? Well, I started ghost hunting probably about 13, 14 years ago, and I created a team called Truth Paranormal. It's sort of like a family-based team. You know, me and my brother started it. We had my mum, my dad, my partner joined for a little while, and we used to go out and do all the ghost investigations. I had an experience at Harwich. That's what got me into demonology. I remember being at Harwich Redoubt Hall, and I was locked. I drew the short straw. I had to get locked in this haunted cell for an hour, and I was in there, and this. I mean, people, when I tell this story, people think I'm crazy, but I'm not. But honestly, like, it's got like a rounded roof, and I can just see these two purple eyes on top of this roof, and it started to walk down the roof, and as it come down, I can just see it was like half thing, half bat thing, and ever since that day, I've just been hooked on learning about demonology, and I've done my diplomacy in it. I got that last year. And now I'm just working towards hopefully to get my doctorate and my PhD in demonology and sort of go from there. But most of the time I don't really go out on investigation anymore because family life is more important to me at the minute. But yeah, I help people out online. I get loads of messages all the time, helping people out with cases, and yeah, it's crazy work, but it's constant all the time. but I really enjoy it. It's what I like doing.
So how do you become a demonologist?
Reading, lots and lots of reading books that you wouldn't expect to be read. You know what I mean? Like stuff like the Voynich manuscript, the books of Enoch, all three of them. Read a couple of books by Gerard Brittle, because he's the author that writes for the Warrens.
Oh,
Don't
right,
forget, Ed Warren was the first who was first ordained exorcist, but wasn't ordained by the church. He was a lay demonologist, so he approached things without being sanctioned from the Vatican. So I read a lot of stuff about him as well, and anything by M. Ballinger as well, which is another guy. He wrote the Rouge Dracona, which is the Red Dragon. It's a grim one, and that's all about occult and summoning and stuff like that. So yeah, basically just reading. You've got to have an interest in demonology to start with, and you sort of just read. And then my diplomacy is from Northamptonshire University. I applied to them to do it because they do a course there, and I've done it through them. And it's sort of like it's done by the Paranormal Guild and the Institution of Paranormal Investigators as well. So it's a full diplomacy, but you have to sort of have they sort of look at your background before they take you on the diplomacy course. So it's something if you want to get into, you need to you have to put the field research in first before you can just sort of jump up to the table, sort of thing.
Northamptonshire, that's Cal Cooper's neck of the woods, isn't it? With the university. I'm sure he's in Northampton University.
He does do the Northampton University, but he's not from here.
No, he's not. No, but I know he does Northampton, because when I remember him when he was on our show that time.
Yeah, Cal's a ball guy. He knows exactly what he's talking about. He really does.
He does. Yeah, he's good fun as well.
And he's got like weird photographic memory.
Yeah, sure.
Northampton University is not even that far up the road from me.
Well, I've done most of my studying online. I didn't actually go to the university. I've done most of my studying online.
I was going to say, it depends on where you live to if they let you do it online or you have to go in, though, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it's one of them courses where, I mean, the problem with demonology is now you can go and type it on Google and you can pay like $37.99 and get a certificate at the end of it. And to be honest with you, I sat one just for a laugh. Me and Ben sat one just for a laugh. And we typed it in, we went on there, and it said it takes 18 months to complete. And I think I passed the whole course in about 2.5 hours. So my advice to anyone out there is to stay away from them sort of things, because they're not really. I mean, you can do one in paranormal investigation now, in mediumship and crystal.
But do you know what, right? I got bored at the lockdown at the beginning of last year, right? And I did the diploma in modern demonology. I got bored, right? So I did the paralearning one on that. And I did the ghost hunting, planning and management, and practical ghost hunting and scientific analysis. I got bored. So give me something to do. Can't remember none of it, mind you. Not all of it.
See, the problem is with these modern day diplomacies that they're putting out, they're teaching you from a religious perspective. Now, real demonologists have to look at things not as angels and demons, because if you look at demons back in history, they were good and bad. The same with angel. You know, you have to look at things as they are sort of like some form of metaphysical being, an interdimensional being. You know, demons are on the same sort of par as the seraphim or the cherubim or the Anunnaki or the Annabem. There's so many different things that come into it. It's not just the study of Solomon's key demons or the study of the demons that are brought up in the Bible. You sort of have to predate that. For instance, I use the example of Zozo. Zozo itself predates religion, because actually Kamazos, which is the death bat, which actually is from Babylonian times. It's just that people, where he comes from on the board, he says Zozo, people sort of associate that as a modern demon, but it's just an older demon that's developed into modern ways.
Okay, so do you want to tell us, right? We nicked this from you. What's in your exorcism box?
My exorcism box? I don't do exorcists. Honestly, I don't. But if I'm helping, no, I don't do exorcisms. I don't.
So you've never done an exorcism?
No, I've been to one, but I've never done one. I'm not ordained to do one. I wouldn't even attempt one. The rite of exorcism is a religious practice, and I'm not religious in any way, shape, or form. I was brought up as a Catholic, but to be honest with you, I would say I'm more Gnostics nowadays, more than anything else, if I was to put my religion out there. But if I was going to go and help somebody with a demonic case, I would probably, this is going to sound really, really weird, but I would take a fresh orange juice with me, a fresh orange. And I know that seems weird, but it's an ancient Egyptian ritual where they use citrus, freshly squeezed citrus, to sever the connection between the possessed person and the demon itself. And it's done over a period of time, and then it severs the connection. Something I learned from Ben, actually. Ben taught me that. So, yeah, I'll turn up with an orange.
I've never heard of it. I haven't. Wow. If you were speaking, say, like doing an exorcism, well, you wouldn't, Rob, but somebody you was with, would they have to know Latin and that?
It depends. The church, I think it was back in '95, deemed that Latin, the rite of exorcism is no longer to be performed in Latin, it has to be performed in English. A lot of priests were sort of, excuse the pun, but demonized for carrying on with Latin, and actually they weren't allowed to practice via the Vatican law anymore because they were still practicing in Latin. It doesn't really matter whether you do it in Latin or in English. It's one of them things where it's down to the preference of the person. I don't speak Latin anyway. I know some words of Latin, and I know some words in ancient Aramaic and Mesopotamian, but I'm not fluent in any of them. But it depends on the person you get to come out to do the exorcism. I mean, you have to be ordained. It has to be sanctioned by the church anyway. I think the figure for England last year, there was only 17 sanctioned exorcisms last year, but we did have a lockdown, so obviously the number will go up and down, I suppose.
Absolutely. And may I just say, if anyone's watching, right, and you've got any questions for Damon, or nearly then, to Damon, could you please put them in the comments and we can ask him the questions.
I still call him Damien, so don't worry. I can't help it. It just comes out that way.
So I love people like that.
Do you think, right, can the power of demons go up and down depending on whether they are active or not?
It can do. I mean, you have everyone thinks there's 3 stages of demonic, diabolical infestation, possession. But there's actually 4 stages. You have the infestation, oppression, possession. Then you have manifestation. It depends on what stage that demonic is in. That would obviously affect whether the power is up or down. Also, stuff like hierarchy, depending on how far up. I mean, 9 times out of 10, you're probably dealing with a mimic or a molestar or a lower frequency sort of demon. If you're dealing with hierarchy, they name themselves in different ways, especially if you're dealing more than one. I mean, you must have heard of I Am Legion. That's the 9, the Legion of 9. But you also have something called Twas as well. If they even identify themselves as Twas, that's another form of hierarchy that's in the possession stage. So, I mean, the power of them, the mimics and the molsters and the lower frequencies, they sort of present almost like poltergeists. And me and Ben are doing a show on that on the 29th of May on Pulse Talk Radio, how demonic possession is very closely linked to poltergeist activity. But when you're dealing with hierarchy, these sort of higher up demons, then the activity goes way off scale. I mean, there's a story with Gerald Brittle about Ed Warren where he went to a farmhouse in, I think it was Kansas, in America. And when he got there, they had a massive bump. And what the demon had done is the guy was a blacksmith. So he had taken the anvil from the garage and put it in a chest freezer. And everything in the chest freezer was now in the garage. So it depends on the hierarchy you're dealing with, depending on how powerful they are.
Okay.
I've got a question.
Okay.
If you go into a place that has what we would say was a demonic entity in there, what equipment would be best to communicate with it?
Old school's the best school. It's always been that for me. Old tape recorders, the like the detuned TVs. EMS would be great, but taking
I'd take a
from my
compass,
guess,
I would.
yeah, definitely, because it's going to knock out the EMF quite rapidly.
Yeah.
Dictaphones are probably the main thing to take. Anything that records sound, because they are very vocal. Don't forget in the infestation stage, it's a giveaway when they knock in 3, because they say it's a knock at the Holy Trinity, but it's to do with the heaven and the earths. It's all to do with ancient Egypt with Set and Osiris, so that's a great thing to take. I had Tom Warrington on my show on Friday. He said
Oh, we
about
know
temperature.
Tom's lovely.
He's lovely.
Yeah, brilliant guy, amazing investigator, really knows what he's doing. He was talking about he has this new digital thermometer where he's able to graph and map temperature changes. Now, that's a major play when it comes to any sort of demonic infestation, because temperatures will fluctuate from extremely cold to extremely high depending on the demon you're dealing with as well. Because a lot of people, when we go out ghost hunting, we get temperature drops. Now, when you're talking about demonic, you're talking about temperature rises to unbelievable amounts. There's a really cool film actually that I watched with my partner on Amazon called Demonologist Damon. It's about a YouTuber, and he goes through this whole this whole new trend, this whole new fad, that people are buying these Dibbert boxes off of eBay and opening them up, and then these strange things are happening. But he goes one step further and buys it off the black web, the dark web, and he opens this box, and he actually has a guy come around to check his air conditioning, because at one point I think his front room was at like 89 degrees Celsius, even though he had his aircon on. So yeah, I'll definitely take temperature gauges and stuff like that.
Yeah, I got. I was speaking to Tom about a thermochromic paper, which is like colour changing paper. You put your hand on it and it changes colour. It's quite clever. So we do actually have a question. Do you want to read it out, Ness?
Yeah, as you love me reading stuff. Right, from the lovely Sarah. Hey, babes. All right. Do demons actually want to communicate with us, or are they just around to cause fear and chaos? I read that well.
It's a really, really good question. I don't think their sole goal is to communicate. I mean, their sole goal is to take possession of the person that they're trying to take possession of. Communication is normally how you identify, more than for them to sort of let you know there's so many other things they can do. I mean, they can harm, they can push, they can cause extreme temperature drops. You're talking about, I mean, there's another film that comes to mind on, I can't remember what it's called, it's on Amazon again, where they put the talcum powder on the floor and the demon walks through it, and you can see it only has 3 toes, and it's really, really like, wow, that's if this is real, then that's really good, because my skeptical brain kicks in straight away.
Yeah. Do you think all demons are actually bad?
No, they're not. No, they're not, and that's something that I strongly believe in. A lot of the time they work with you. See, this is where a lot of people get sort of confused. They talk like, the demon's here to possess us and stuff like that. But the way I look at things is we live on this earth in a realm, and we get sent back over and over and over again until we learn. That's what we're here for. Humans learn. If you think about it, when you're first born, the first thing you do is learn. You have to learn how to breathe. And you have to learn how to eat, and you have to learn how to walk and see. So we are here to learn and to achieve that higher consciousness. And these demonic entities, these interstellar beings, these interdimensional beings, are here to teach us how to get to that higher state of consciousness. I mean, the Bible tells us that angels and demons are against each other, but they're not. They're just two interdimensional beings that are there to help us learn.
Well, look at some of the angels. They've done, the ones that are on God's side have done worse than what some of the demons have done.
Yeah. I mean,
And they've still on God's side.
the Book of Enoch is a major play on that. It's written from the perspective of Noah's grandfather. And if anyone wants to read it, it's a really good book to get into demonology, because it was actually a book that was not entered into the Bible after the Council of Nicaea in 841 AD with Roman Emperor Constantine. And in the Book of Enoch, it talks about angels going down and mating with female humans, and they spawned a race called the Nephilim, which were these giant creatures, and they ate everything. And once they finished eating everything, they decided to turn humans, and that's why we had the major flood. So yeah, you are right. I mean, some angels are just as bad as demons, but I think it's Hollywood and religion that has turned us onto this whole thing that
absolutely
demons are bad. Don't get me wrong; a lot of them have bad intentions. Otherwise, we wouldn't have possessions and stuff like that. But I mean, there's good and bad in every race, and humans as well.
Yeah.
You know, so it's one of them sort of things.
Absolutely.
Right. We've got even more questions. I'm loving this. We've actually got some really good questions from different people. Right, so Denise is saying, all right, let's see if I can do this one. Is there different dimensions for all demons, angels, spirits?
Yeah, I don't have the answer to that. I couldn't tell you straight off going, yes, there is a this, but I suppose it depends on your belief system. If you look at demons as interdimensional, they'll be on a separate plane to angels, or as we know them, seraphim, cherubim. You know, that's what we know them as. I suppose for demons and angels, their intelligence is higher than ours. They're above us, so they're able to travel between dimensions, whereas humans haven't got that intelligence to do so yet.
Yeah.
So I suppose they're probably from different dimensions, but they travel through dimensions. There's a lady that I talked to, and she works for ESM Paranormal. Her name's Anisadora. I call her Annie. She regressed, and she was talking about the Anunnaki, regression that she had. And she talks about them being interdimensional, being able to travel through dimensions and go through different planes. But it is very, very complicated when you get into it. It takes a long time to get your head around how. Because when I first started paranormal investigating, demons to me were just evil. But the problem is that evil is a human concept. It's a concept that was developed in religion to define something that's really, really bad. And so was good, same as heaven and hell. Everything has to have an opposite. Every action has a reaction, that sort of thing. So
yin and yang.
Evil as a concept is not it's a human concept. To be able to understand them in their dimension, we'd have to take things out of the human concept and move into their concepts, their higher intelligence.
Absolutely.
All right, this question I would actually love to know as well. So I'm glad someone's asked it. How can you
differentiate
that one between demons and negative energies? I did that the total wrong way round. I screwed it up.
You got it out in the end.
Yeah.
In the end. It's quite. They are very similar. Negative entities and demonic entities are very similar. They do sort of do things in the same way. They knock and they bang, but it's the obvious things that sort of differentiate. A poltergeist will throw a Lego block. A poltergeist will throw a pencil. A poltergeist will throw something that's very light in weight, whereas the demonic entity will chuck a sofa across the room, or, like I said, lift up an anvil and place it into a freezer. Poltergeists normally knock 1s, 2s, 5s, 6s. Demonics will normally knock in 3s. A lot of people tell you it's a mockery of the Holy Trinity, the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, but it's not. It's to do with the times of Set and Osiris, because the Egyptians believed in 3 planes of life. You had the plane of the sun, the plane of the underworld, and the plane of the earth. Set, Osiris, and the pharaohs we had at the time. So that's why they knock in 3s, because obviously these creatures have been around, these entities have been around for a long time, so they've learnt it. So knocking in 3s is definitely one. Heavy objects. Another one that's a complete giveaway is the smell. There's always a putrid smell with demonic activity. It normally smells like rotting flesh, or like extremely
Ammonia.
burnt wood. Yeah, ammonia. Yeah, you get that a lot. I'm just trying to think anything else that sort of differentiates. Another one is hearing voices. A lot of people, I mean, I think it's something like 64% of people that have gone through possession or infestation or oppression talk about hearing voices in their head, but they're voices that are garbled, that they can't understand the language that they're speaking. I mean, there's not many poltergeist cases or negative entity cases where you talk about noises and voices in your head. So it's another main thing. But yeah, the main difference is you're talking about something that's not lived on this plane of Earth. It's something that's never been alive on this plane of Earth. So it's got a different sort of power to it. So it's doing things that are completely different. I mean, there's a story out in America, because a lot of stuff comes from America. There's a story out in America where the demonic actually melted the starter cable for the car so the woman couldn't get away. And if we talk about in this country, in Battersea in 1958, there's a very famous case called the Battersea Poltergeist. And that demonic actually travelled. This young girl who it was based around, she had an interview at the News of the World because everyone was so like, wow, you know. And this thing actually followed her and started doing the 3 taps while she was in the office of the News of the World. Now, when we're talking about poltergeist cases or negative entities, they don't normally move from the property that they're based at. So it's another telltale sign of demonic over negative entity.
Okay. Right, Sarah Edwards has got a question.
Okay, do you think that demons attach themselves more to vulnerable, I can't say that word,
You just said it, vulnerable
people who have let their guard down?
When you talk about letting your guard down, I mean, it's funny, even though they're like interdimensional beings, they're like metaphysical beings, they still live by laws and rules. A demonic has to be invited in. So that can be anything as much as a Ouija board, a EVP session, a glass divination session. That can invite them in. But when we talk about people that let their guard down, I mean, 9 times out of 10, most of the cases I get across my table are to do with people that have done Ouija boards, done glass divination, or even asked, I don't know, and try and sell their soul to the devil, you know, to try and get somewhere, and they don't realise the negative effects of it. So I don't think it's people that let their guard down. Because if you look at some of the cases that are out there of possession, I mean, the young boy in Germany where the Exorcist was actually based on the film The Exorcist was highly religious. I mean, he was devout Roman Catholic, believed in God, his family were God-fearing people. So I don't think they let their guard down, but yet we're talking about an extremely famous case of possession that has been sort of glorified by Hollywood. But still, I don't think it's people that let their guard down. I think it's people that make connections with spirit or try to make connections with spirit, but they don't actually do it in the right way, in a safe way.
No.
I mean,
you know
two
that
guys are both like, you guys have been investigating for a long time. You know how to open a Ouija board. You know how to open an EVP session.
I've been investigating for over 20 years. I have, so it's
that's
a long
the thing.
time. Yeah,
and people are watching these things on Amazon and YouTube, and these YouTubers going out, they're doing these Ouija boards, and they think they can go out there and do the same thing, but they don't realise, you know, that there are some extremely devastating side effects of going out there and not knowing what you're doing.
Yeah, exactly. Right, we have got well, this is just a statement, right? Kerry has put King James I wrote the first book on demonology. I actually have that book, King James.
It's not true.
It's not true that it.
No.
But he did write a book on demonology.
Yes, he did, along with his good. King James, he was known as the Mad King, wasn't he? He was the guy that was trying to contact the devil through. I think it was John Dee at the time. But no, the first ever book written about demonology was a grimoire that was located in Bangladesh, which was hidden for many years by the priest there, and you can actually see a copy of it online. It's in the German museum, the German Library Museum. They've actually uploaded it online, but it's all in a completely garbled language, which they're still trying to translate now. But that is the first book that was written about demonology. And if you're looking at older books as well, you've got to look at the grimoires. There's so many different grimoires out there. You know, Grimoire Sigma, the Red Dragon. You know, the Pixelix is another good one to do with demonology. I think that was written in like 1500 or something like that. So, I mean,
Yeah, absolutely.
but she's right. King James the First, the Mad
The
King, he
royal
did quite sort
family.
of.
Yeah, the whole royal family. They've all been into demonology and paranormal investigations and all that sort of stuff for hundreds of years.
And it's something that a lot of people don't know as well. The Prime Minister and the President of America both have spiritual advisors on their board, people that tell them how to sort of do things spiritually. It's not like an advertised post, but it does happen. Even the Pope has a spiritual advisor as well. So.
Well, look at Abraham Lincoln. He was a vampire hunter.
Yeah. Well, supposedly,
Yeah.
supposedly. I mean, vampires. I don't
Supposedly.
know. I mean, when it comes to cryptids and cryptoids and that sort of thing, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm willing to learn. I've got an open mind. I had
Yeah.
Andy McGrillen on my show talking about UFOs, and he blew my mind. Completely changed my mind, because my partner was like, you know, we're controlled by these alien forces and that sort of thing, and I was just like, I was like, no. But after speaking to Andy, it completely opened my mind. Like, it's the stuff people know as well, the research they do is just crazy.
Absolutely. Donna has asked another question. Do you want to read that, Ness?
No.
Okay. Do we know where they originate from or how they get their power?
It was that originate word. I didn't know what it meant. I didn't know what it said, so that's why I said no.
Origination and power. It depends on what sort of side you look at it, what side of the coin you look at it. If you look at the Gnostic side of things, you know, I remember you was with Amy, you was with Jane when she was talking about the story of Adam and Eve. It was actually Adam and Lilith first, and she wasn't subservient to him, so he created Eve out of his rib bone. So, I mean, they predate human life. I mean, a lot of people believe the Anunnaki come to Earth to create the human race, and they created them in their image. If you look at religion, they get their power drawn from the fact that they're lower level. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question. I don't know origination. I can't go all the way back to when they were here, because they predate humans and they predate anything that we can write and research. As for their power, I mean, you've got to think of this as they're a metaphysical being. They're interdimensional. They're in a complete dimension to us, so they obviously draw power from their intelligence and the dimension that they're in.
Yeah. Do you think, like, are all the 72 demons in the Lesser Key of Solomon always eager to attach themselves to people?
I don't think they are. I think they're there to help, like I said, to help us learn, to retrieve that sort of higher state consciousness. I mean, Solomon tricked him into building his temple, didn't he? That's the whole story with the Lesser Key of Solomon. But there's a lot more than 72 of them. I can guarantee you that. I mean, I have got 2 dictionaries, one written by Catherine, I can't remember her name now, but I've also got one written by Ember and Jane. If you actually compare both of them together, I think there's way over 6,500 names in there.
Wow.
You know, dating from Babylonian times, Mesopotamian times, you know, times like, there's some there that predate Jesus by like 1,000 years as well. So,
right, I'm cogs are going now, like, right. So you got them all the way back to ancient times. Do you think new demons are created?
No, I don't think new demons created. I think they evolve. Like any entity, any creature, they evolve. I mean, I was talking about this to someone the other day. They were saying, "Oh, how do these spirits? And how do they manage to sort of manipulate these new gadgets that are out now? You know, we're talking about spirits that were here in the 1600s, 1700s. They wouldn't know how to use sort of thing. Like any entity, we evolve. For instance, like I said about Kamazos, you know, Zozo. He evolved. He was able to contact us through a Ouija board, and he's taken on a new name. And I think evolution is just part of anything that's living evolves. I mean, trees evolve depending on their environment and the situation they're in. You know, you'll see trees of the same species in a rainforest that will look different to ones that are in a normal forest in England. They're the same species. So I think evolution is just something that happens to any sort of living being.
So would you say it's like an upgrade sort of thing?
Yeah, like
Or a job promotion?
yeah. It's evolution, isn't it? Like, you talk about
Yeah.
Darwin's theory of evolution. We come from apes, so we've gone from there to where we are now. Technology nowadays is we have touchscreen phones. I mean, I'm doing this interview live on my iPhone. 50 years ago we wouldn't be able to do that, but technology advances, we advance. Like any entity, any living being. It's the soul's purpose to gain knowledge. And by gaining knowledge, you evolve because you adapt to your environment, you adapt to the way of life. So you sort of change the way you're doing to make life almost fit, to the way your knowledge is at. So I think you don't get new demons. I think they just evolve to the modern state of the dimension that they're in, I suppose.
Okay. Sarah's got a comment. Do you want to read it out, Ness?
Yeah, that's fine. I've already read it in my head. So Sarah said that she loves me, so she loves the way I am.
We wouldn't want you any other way.
No. And the best thing is I'm dyslexic, but I take the piss out of myself. I work with quite a few people who belong to the Muslim faith. They constantly talk of the demon they call jinn. Do you know anything about this? I've heard of that one. So
yeah.
They like to live by water and that lot.
Yeah, born from a smokeless fire. It's funny because like Muslims, they believe like the early sort of people that believe in demons, the Babylonians and the Mesopotamians, they believe that they were called daemons, which is quite ironic, but and they believe they were good and bad. I mean, they used to hang over beds like these sort of baphomets to sort of help during childbirth to stop them from dying from crib death. But when we talk about jinn, they believe in the same way. Jinn are good and bad, and they're a complete sort of subset of demons. I've not looked into them completely. I know that they're born of smokeless fire and they can be extremely good, but they also there's a lot of subsets of Muslims that worship different types of jinn because they bring them good luck. So the Muslims look at them as good and bad, whereas we're in our Catholic, Christian, Judeo-Christian views we're supposed to look at them as bad. Angels are good, things are bad. And I think that's where the backwards thing goes, because when you talk about Muslim religion, they look at them as good and bad. Like any human, we have good and bad in us.
Absolutely. Do you have any questions, Ness?
do you have a gift?
Do I have a gift? I'm very good at talking.
I do. I like it.
When we talk about gifts and gadgets, I mean, I think everyone has a gift, depending on, when people say a gift, they talk about being able to talk to spirits, mystical gifts, healing gifts, and stuff like that. But I think everyone has their own gift to give to the world. Ames, you as a paranormal investigator, your gift is being able to use technology to gain evidence to prove that there's life after death. The same with you, Ness. With me, I'm trying to prove that demons do exist, but build
technology as well. So
yeah, that's what I mean. Everyone has a gift. It's just how they use their gift. There's a lot of people out there that have gifts, but they don't ever use it. So everyone has a gift. My gift, I want to make sure that I get enough knowledge to tell the world that these demons do exist, but they're not all bad. They're good as well. So that's the way I look at things anyway.
I just love asking everyone that question.
Yeah. You expect us to turn up with a present, that's why.
I must admit, I was expecting with you, because I've learnt how your personality is, I was expecting you to go, yes, I have got you a gift, Ness.
A tin of squirty cream.
I was expecting a proper sarky comment, and you actually came out with a really nice comment.
You told me it was a serious show.
I did,
It's a serious show, but we are Ness and Amy,
Yeah. Serious
nice,
serious stuff.
It's nice. I mean, I've done a few interviews with the American guys, and they are well on it. They're completely different to us. They're very much intense. So it's nice to sort of kick back and just, have a chat.
Right, Kevin's put something.
Did you want me to read it or you?
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Right, so Kerry's put, it's not a gift we all have. The abilities to connect in one way or another, and it's a choice.
It is a choice. I mean, if you look at Lorraine Warren I mean, a lot of people sort of put her down and put Ed Warren down. They were these people that were obsessed with publicity and stuff like that. But I mean, if you look at Lorraine Warren, her mediumistical skills and her ESP, her extrasensory perception, was measured by UCLA, and they actually confirmed that she had it. They done this thing with cards where she had to predict the next card and stuff like that, and she smashed the hell out of it. But they always say that all children are clairvoyant before up to the age of 12 as well. So yeah, we are born with the gift. It's like a thing said, like it depends on whether you act on that gift. I mean, I studied as a medium for a couple of years, and I got to a point where I was able to do it, but it was something that sort of scared me. So it sort of scared me away. But at the same time, you know, I sort of exercise that gift, and I think people have to do that. You have to put yourself out there to be able to receive these gifts. I mean, some people label it as a curse, but at the end of the day, you know, I mean, once you realise that there is life after death, once you realise there are interdimensional beings and stuff like that, it gives you a whole new twist on the outlook of death itself. I mean, you sort of... Go on, Ness.
With like mediumship and sensitives and things like that, you can build on it, and everyone can be one if you put the work in. If you don't put the work in, it's not going to happen, and it's not going to happen like overnight.
No. And I think as well with mediums and the people like what I do and stuff like that, for people to believe in what we do, it's going to completely upside down everything they've been taught. And when we talk about opening your mind, you really are opening your mind. You're turning your life completely upside down. When we talk about famous people in the past, the people sort of overlooked that believed in the paranormal and that. I mean, the Germans themselves, the Nazi Germans, they were highly into the paranormal. They built a secret base in Antarctica called New Schwabenland, which was completely dedicated to paranormal research and creating a super soldier. And into all this sort of interdimensional, you know, building these glockenspiels, these flying bells, which was like UFO. So it's been around for years. I mean,
well, the German word for poltergeist is Zeitgeist, and it derives from that word Zeitgeist.
But it also means noisy ghost.
Noisy ghost.
Yeah, noisy spirit. That's all it means, and it does what it says. You know, it is a noisy spirit.
100%, and you're right. And the thing about that, I mean, you said about Zeitgeist as well. I mean, it's also the conspiracy world. There's a really famous film out there called Zeitgeist, which talks about opening your subconscious and bringing into your secondary conscious to what's actually going on in the world. So if we look at the paranormal in general, I mean, it's all about opening your mind and receiving the gift and being that person that sort of questions everything. I mean, I woke up after 9/11. I've got into conspiracy big time in 9/11, and I was into the paranormal way before that. Just after that as well, because that happened in 2001. And I think with the gift as well that people have, I mean, go out there, I mean, challenge what you've been taught. We're taught on a that sort of staggered ladder level. You know, you have to go to school, you have to learn, you have to get qualifications, you get a job, then you meet someone, you get a mortgage, then you have a family. That's what we're taught, and we're taught whatever the government says you've got to do. You know, question things, because at the end of the day, I know that there's life after death, and I know there's interdimensional beings, and it's completely changed the way I look at life in general. So if you do have the gift and you do have an interest, sort of chase it and see where it takes you, because it's a very deep rabbit hole, as you both know.
Absolutely. Right, Donna has put this. Do you want to read it out, Ness?
I'll give it a try. May not make sense once I've read it, but we'll try. Right, so personally, I've never really been a believer in demons. At one point, I didn't believe in spirits until certain events took place. However, I'm fascinated to learn more about the subject. could you recommend any books or other sources where I could find out more?
Definitely,
Well done.
definitely.
Just message him.
Yeah. Well, no, the best way to start off, I mean, as much as Ed and Lorraine Warren have been completely demonized for being publicists, I mean, start off with their books. Anything written by Gerald Brittle, The Demon House, I think it's called Satan's Harvest as well, was another one that he wrote, which is to do with a farmer that gets possessed. Anything by them will sort of introduce you into the world. And if you want to go that little bit deeper, you've got to look at grimoires, you've got to look at the Book of Enoch, you've got to look at the Voynich manuscripts. And these are all things that are actually available online for free. You can pick them up on your phone for free or on your computer for free because they were published before a certain date. But a lot of the grimoires you can read on wherever they're based in museums, they upload like these ebooks of them where you can actually sit there and read them. So I'd start off something quite small, something written by Gerald Brittle, and then sort of work your way up to the sort of harder stuff. The Book of Enoch are extremely hard to read because they're written in a way that the Bible was written, so it's hard to keep tracks of it. But it's a great book. It introduces you to the demons that come down to earth, the Nephilim, fallen angels, and all this sort of thing. Even though it is from a religious point of view, once you start getting into the grimoires, and the only thing I will say is don't get into Crowley, don't get into anything to do with Aleister Crowley. It comes with its own burden, and it's not good stuff.
Jane has put, working with your abilities take a long time to work with spirit world, and it takes a lot of patience, commitment, and practice. And it takes years.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was saying. It won't be overnight at all.
No, and this is the thing. Anything that's worth getting in life is worth putting 100% in and taking your time. The old Guinness advert, good things come to those who wait. It's that all day long. If you spend your time and you put your research in, you get what you put in.
Absolutely.
Okay, Vaughn has put, I hope I said the name right.
Yeah,
I believe... What?
It is Von.
Oh, okay. I believe, as well as the ability, there is a lot of research and learning involved too. One thing always leads you to something else. It's a complete new life path and opens your mind and life totally. Yep.
100%. So I'm going to say hi to Bonnie because she's always locked in every Friday. It's great to have her sort of locked in, and I completely agree with her. I'm a massive advocate. It's another reason why I started my podcast, my live streams, and my podcast. I'm a massive advocate in believing in the old way of teaching, which is telling stories. That's the greatest way we learn. It's by passing knowledge in from one human to another human through word of mouth. And like Bonnie said, I mean, as much as research you can put in talking to people. I mean, I've learned so much since I've been doing my live shows. I only started them in August. And I mean, I've learned stuff about paranormal that I didn't know, stuff about demons that I didn't know, stuff about UFOs and how to go out there and be a better investigator and stuff like this. I've learned so much. And this is just from talking to other people. The age-old story, back in the days when they didn't have the internet and Google and that, how would you go and learn? Like, picked up a book or you had a chat with someone.
Go to a library.
Yeah.
Meet like-minded people, yeah.
Exactly.
Right. Do you want to read this one?
Yeah. Right. Sarah. My lovely Sarah. I have a fear of being sick.
I think that's for another show, that is.
I think it is.
Confession show.
We're only joking. Right. I have a fear of being sick. Once on an investigation, something appeared to affect me and seemed to know my fear and made me very nauseous to the extent that I had to leave the building. Could this have been a demon or a negative energy?
Definitely a negative entity. I mean, without going into the backstory of everything, definitely a negative entity. They play off our fear as well as demons play off our fear. They also play off our insecurities as well. A lot of the time, in a lot of the demonic cases I deal with, one with somebody quite recently from another paranormal team, which I've been obviously client information, I can't say who, but they had a demon threaten their family, and at that point, he turned around and said, "No, you ain't doing nothing to my family, but you can do whatever to me." So there's your protection already. So, I mean, without getting the complete backstory of how and what and why and where, I would say a negative entity, because they draw on our fear, whereas demons sort of, they have prior knowledge to us as well. I know that she said she's scared of being sick, like she's afraid of being sick, but at the same time, you know, that's a lot of people. I don't like being sick. No one likes being sick. You feel like crap afterwards for ages. My
I don't know,
partner,
apart from when you've been pissed. You
yeah,
always
yeah.
feel better after you've been sick.
Can't remember that one.
No, normally.
But my partner, if she's sick, she's flat out. She's flat out. She can be as ill as anything and carry on, but as soon as she's sick, she's flat out. I mean, it's one of them things that
It's a lot of energy.
Yeah, it's quite common to have a fear of being sick, but demons sort of play on the other fears. You know, I can't remember what the name of it is now. There's a certain demon that can shapeshift into your fears. So if you're scared of spiders, it'll turn into a spider. If you're scared of glitter, it'll turn into glitter. You know what I mean?
Why them two? You're so evil!
Sparklophobia.
You're coming off my friends list. No, I'm joking. I don't think you're on there.
Kerry has a question.
Do you believe... You're an ass. Lucky I love you. Right. Do you believe the term that if you're a negative person, you can actually create your own paranormal activity? I've never heard that.
You never heard of
I've
that?
heard
It's
of
100%, 100% true.
Yeah, I've
100%
heard that.
true. A lot of the time, it's associated with teenagers that are going through pubescent purposes when they're having negative things happening. They can create this sort of negative void, like this void of energy that takes on its own life force. Janet Hodges is another good example of that from the Enfield podcast.
Yeah.
She started to create. She started collapsing the media and started creating like this phenomena by throwing things around the kitchen. And when she'd done that, she actually created a second entity that took on its own life force and then fed into the demonic that was there in the first place, which wasn't Balak. I'd just like to add, it wasn't Balak. So, yeah, I mean, it can happen 100%. I'm with that 100%. I've had cases that are energies that have been created through negative things happening, you know, violence or anything like that. It can create its own. It takes on its own life force, and it takes on its own sort of evil presence itself.
Actually, I have heard about that. When you said about like the last bit you were saying, that's when I recognised it. But obviously, the way that it was put there, I didn't recognise it. But yeah.
Something out from Sarah.
Sarah loves doing this to me. Whatever it was that affected seemed to follow me down 3 flights of stairs to get out of the building, and once on the ground floor, the radio in the kitchen turned on as I walked past. Yeah.
I mean, it still doesn't point towards demonic. It still points towards negative. I mean, any spirit, whether it's negative or positive, can affect electrical frequencies. I mean, most of us use SB7s, SB11s to communicate. It's because they talk in between frequencies. So that could just been a sign, Sarah, that they wanted to talk, in my eyes.
Yeah.
But I still wouldn't put that towards demonic.
Right, our lovely Jane. We have the ability to change the environment around us. Even just watching and being present can change the behaviour of the environment around us.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And there's a really there's a good example of that. I mean, you guys, when you've been out on investigation, have you ever sort of one of you cracked a joke and you started laughing, and then suddenly something flies across the room?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's that laughter that's changed the environment around us. Yeah.
Building energy.
Yeah, we are massive balls of energy. I mean, we produce our own EMF field, and we are electrical signals that run all around our body to our brain. So we're our own ball of energy, and our energy can be. I mean, if you look at it, like you say about gifts, if you look at gifts, we're able to put this energy out there, and this is what a lot of the time the spirits feed on is our energies. You know, so yeah, it can definitely affect the environment around us, depending on mood or conversation or anything like that.
Brilliant.
Well, we've
We've almost,
literally,
yeah.
we're going to have to round it up. We're going to have to get you back on.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I'm happy with that.
Before we go, do you want to plug anything before we go?
My show on Friday, 9 to 10 p.m. over there on the HAPRC live feed. I've got Jacqueline Dixon on this week, so I'm starting my presenter special. I've got all the presenters coming on. We're talking about podcasting, live streaming, and how they're getting on, and how they're excited to get out and then get started getting again and get people to know their presenters here on the HAPRC. And also, 29th of May, I start my brand new show over there on Pulse Talk Radio. It's called The Other Dimension. It's myself and Ben Winfield. We'll be talking about the paranormal uncensored, because we all know that on Facebook you have a certain degree of censorship. Everyone's being censored nowadays. So I've sort of big shouts out to Carl Wah, who sort of gave me the opportunity to do that. I'm going to be going over there and we're going to be doing the Other Dimension show. And I think the first show we're talking about the similarities between poltergeist phenomena and demonic diabolical activity. So I'm looking forward to that.
Brilliant.
Also check out Facebook page,
Also,
facebook.com, Demonologist UK.
Don't forget to tune into the Loonies.
Yeah, the Loonies.
Is that on Friday or Saturday this week?
Ness forgot a diary. She's forgot a diary.
No, because obviously we're reverting back to the Friday night. So I'm not 100% sure if that's already or,
coming soon.
I mean, definitely. I always look into the Loonies. It's cool. It's one show like we have on HAPRC where the presenters all let their hair down. You get to see their real personality, which is great. It is great.
Hold on. It's more like pick on Ness.
Yeah, no, basically, if you do want to sort of take a cheap shot on Ness, just lock onto the Loonies 100%.
And don't forget, this Sunday night, the Demon Files is live on I'm not sure if it's the members page or what, but I think it's on YouTube as well. And we're looking at Baal or it is Baal, isn't it?
Baal.
There you go. He knows.
Yeah, 100%. That's going to be a good one. I want to be watching that one, 100%.
I still need to watch back on the Lilith one because I can't believe I missed that.
Yeah, I mean, I call
like
that
a spider.
Yeah, I call that. Is that the one? Is that the one where you was in the Chamber of Fear, Ames?
That was Lilith. Yeah.
I need to watch it. For some reason, I've got this thing around Lilith at the moment. Well, I really want to learn so much about her.
A lot of women do, because Lilith represents the female, their identity, them becoming their own people. Because Lilith broke away from Adam.
Yeah.
She become an independent woman. Do you know what I mean? She was the Beyonce of the beginning of the world. You know, she was this independent woman.
Girl power.
And a lot of feminine movements at the moment actually use her sigil or a picture of her on their logo to represent, that female identity. So that's why it does attract a lot of people.
There's something I don't know what's brought it on, but this lately, I mean, it's like I'm hopefully getting a new car soon, and the first thing I thought was I'm calling my car Lilith.
Or Sophia, same thing. They're both the same people. So,
but there is something that's just really attracting me to Lilith at the minute, and I don't know what it is. So I need to watch the Demon Files so I can listen about Lilith, because obviously there's something that I need to hear in that.
Definitely.
Don't know what it'll be.
Yeah. Well, guess what? It's 9 o'clock.
Oh.
It's the end of the show.
Well, thank you for joining us tonight.
Yeah,
that's all right. Thank you for having me. I've really enjoyed myself. It's been a great chat. It's nice to sort of let your hair down and just have a chat now and again. But thank you for having me on the show.
You're welcome.
Brilliant.
And thank you everyone for joining the chat room. You've been absolutely brilliant with the questions tonight. We're so grateful with that. Amy, as always, thanks, babes.
You're right, mate. And thank you everyone for watching. So don't forget to tune in on Sunday for the Demon Files. Take care everyone. Bye.
Bye.